Hello, Dominion City Church. My name is Roy. I'm here to share a testimony that I cannot afford to withhold that happened to me and my household on Christmas morning. My mom is suffering from partial dementia for the past 3 years plus now. So I asked her to come stay with me and do Christmas with me and my family. Actually, she stays in Miami with my elder sister. So she came over to stay with us. So on Christmas morning, around 3:30 a.m., my wife woke up to attend to my little daughter. And throughout her stay with my little daughter, she said she didn't see my mom out of her room. So around a few minutes before 6:30, my son ran into my bedroom and woke me up and said, "Grandma is not in her room." And I dashed up and ran straight to her bedroom. I couldn't find her. I checked all the rooms. She wasn't there. Around downstairs, I checked the guest room and the restroom. She wasn't there. I ran outside and the weather was 17 degrees, very cold. So I was barefooted and I was shouting, "Mom, Mom, where are you?" I couldn't find her. I ran up and down our street. I couldn't find her, and my wife ran out. I said, "Grab my car keys." She grabbed my car keys and ran into the car, and I started driving all around the community. I couldn't find my mom. I drove outside the community, drove on 85 back and forth. I couldn't find her. As I was driving back home, I was so scared, and I called my wife over the phone. I said, "Hey, you better call the cops." So she called the cops and then she called me back and said, "Hey, the cops said they found her." And I asked her where. They took her to the hospital and I drove straight to the house. I picked up my wife and then we barefooted, we ran, drove straight to the hospital. And then behold, my mom was there surrounded with doctors and nurses and the police. And then when I walked in, they asked me my name. I said, identified myself, and I told them that's my mom. And they made way for me. And I saw her in the bed lying there, and she was okay. It's just that her foot was kind of affected with cold blisters. And then they asked me her name. I told them her name. They asked me her date of birth. I told them her date of birth. And they said, "Well, that's the same information she gave them." I said, "Yes, the issue is that my mom has partial dementia." And then they said, "Okay." And they, examined her and everything was perfectly okay. And the doctor gave me a few suggestions and then finally discharged us. So we got home. I was still confused. But before we left, I met the lady that rescued her. And she told the story of what happened, that she felt movement in front of her house. Apparently, my mom wandered out of our community and went to the next community. The lady felt movement, and then suddenly, when my mom hit her toe on the pavement and fell, she started crying for help, and the lady ran out of her house and picked her up, asked her questions. She couldn't respond, and then she called the police, and that's how they now rescued my mom and took her to the hospital. So when we got home, and I couldn't believe what happened because the lady said that she picked up my mom around 4:30 a.m. So throughout 3:30 to 6 that my son came and woke me up, apparently my mom left the house before 3:30. She left the house barefooted with just nightgown under 17 degrees. So my mom stayed over 2 hours in the cold weather. So what baffled me was what happened, how she made it. She could have been hit by a car or something could have happened, or at worst, she could have frozen to death. So apparently, I believe it can only be God that made this. It can only be God that did this. I feel like God came down and clothed my mom with his garment. I feel like he sent his angels to push her down so she can hit her foot and make noise so someone can rescue her. This is only miracle. I've never seen this kind of thing. I've never heard about it. All I know is that God had a hand in it. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Pastor Steve, because I know that 2 weeks before this happened, Pastor Steve encouraged everyone to make a sacrifice towards the new construction that is going on. And what I did was that I took my paycheck. I did not buy anything for my family, not my kids, not my wife for Christmas. I paid my bills. I took the remaining money and made that sacrifice. It was painful, but I had to obey that instruction. So when I was sitting alone in my living room, wondering and pondering exactly what happened, how come my mom did not freeze to death? How come a car did not hit her or something bad? How come she survived for more than 2 hours under 17 degrees? And it dawned on me that, oh, do you remember? Do you remember the sacrifice that you made? Oh, I want to thank Pastor Steve and Pastor Neka for teaching us biblical principles. And I want to encourage everybody to please obey, because obedience is better than sacrifice. Just like Samuel told Saul when Saul tried to justify his reasons for taking so much animals from where God has instructed him when he went to war. So he brought back some animals and he said to Samuel, I'm going to use them as a sacrifice to God. And then Samuel said to him, obedience is better than sacrifice. So in a nutshell, when Pastor Steve advised us to do that, I had to obey, because it was God speaking and talking through Pastor Steve. So Pastor Steve and Pastor Neka, I am grateful. Me and my family are grateful. Above all, we are grateful to God Almighty for shielding us from this calamity. What would I have said? What would I have said to my family? What would the story be? The media, the police? I may have been arrested. I don't even know. But you know what? To God be the glory for this. I can't withhold this testimony. Naturally, I'm a camera shy person, but this one, I just could not withhold it. I think it's worth sharing, and that's why I'm here to testify the goodness of the Lord. Thank you.